Hello and welcome back to the Google Workspace Update podcast from Strawberry 7. My name is Adam.
And my name is Adam.
We're here every week to bring you all of the latest updates happening in the world of Google Workspace. This podcast is available in audio format from your regular podcast provider and also in video format on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Strawberry7.
Coming up on the show today.
We have another packed show for you today. We've got 14 updates for you today, so we're going to whiz through these quite quickly. We have updates to Google Chat, Connecting Sheets, Google Classroom, Admin, Google Chat, Google Workspace Marketplace, Duet AI, I have no idea what that is, Google Sheets, Google Meet again, Workspace, Google Docs and Gmail in one update, and finally Google Slides. As always, there is a link in the podcast or video description to the document that we read from. This document contains some more detailed information, relevant links, and some lovely pictures, and even moving graphics showing you these features in action. So, let's get to it.
On with the show. Right, so as always, this week we have a couple of little updatelets for everybody, and the very first one is to do with Google Chat. So, you can now copy Space member email addresses within Google Chat. So Space managers and members can now copy the email addresses of members in a space on Google Chat. This option is on by default for spaces with 100 members or less. The option to copy Space member email addresses will be disabled in spaces with 100 plus members.
Okay, I mean, I can certainly imagine how this is a really useful feature in certain regards of just being able to copy those email addresses. I don't know if you know, Adam, but the graphic here is showing that you're kind of copying all of them at once. Is that right?
Yes, I would interpret that as the same way, because the copy icon is at the top. It's not next to an individual email address, although there is a three-dot icon next to the individual members of the space, so you probably can do it individually, but I'm going to say that you can copy all of the email addresses at once to send them some lovely spam emails.
Yeah. So we're kind of like speculating that maybe you can click on the three dots next to each member and copy the individual email addresses, but certainly at the top there, I mean, on the graphic they've put in, it says copy member emails, so it must be all of them. I wonder how they come out. They must come out with commas separating them or something like that maybe, or spaces separating them.
Yes, I would have thought, because if it literally was just one string of all of them, then you can't really do too much with that, because then you may as well just copy them individually. Otherwise, it's just not very practical to work with. And I'm sure Google have thought of that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it must be comma or space separated or something like that. So, very interesting little sort of tweak there. I can imagine that's really, really useful in certain regards. I imagine the reason they've done this is because you've got a space, you've got all of these people in it, and you might want to chat to them, but then you want to send them an email, and you want to send all of them an email.
I think this would be really handy, or almost as a one-off thing. I wonder if they could do it as a separate feature in the future, actually, to essentially to create an email group based on the email addresses of those within the Google Chat. So then every time you want to send an email to people within that group, you don't have to go and copy their email addresses every single time. Once you can just use it to create the group, and then moving forward, just email the group.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of similar to when you share a document to a space, and it ends up being shared to chat, and then a whole load of numbers and letters. It's like some sort of code to identify a particular chat, and it's sharing it to just the people in that space. So yeah, maybe something like that. Anyway, we've got a lot of updates to get through. This is very nice, and I'm sure this will be quite useful for people. Thank you very much, Adam. What have we got next, please?
Up next, we have another little update to do with connecting sheets. So you can now filter by expression for connecting sheets for Looker. So you can now use common filter expressions from Looker, such as last 30 days, last quarter, or not 50, to filter on pivot tables in connected sheets for Looker. I've also added a link for everybody if anybody would like to learn more about connecting sheets.
Great, thank you very much, Adam. I mean, not too much to say on this because, as we said before, we don't use connected sheets, we don't use Looker, so we're not too familiar with that. But just from this terminology, this makes sense. Last 30 days, last quarter. Don't know what not 50 is.
I'm really curious what the not 50 actually means. I'm sure it's really, really simple and massively obvious to somebody that actually uses connected sheets and Looker frequently. But as we don't, I actually have no idea what the not 50 actually means.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, I have to say. So maybe something in America that we're not too familiar with. But yeah, again, very useful that you can start filtering expressions on there for those things that connected sheets and Looker are very useful for. Those big sets of data, especially financial data and things like that, being able to sort of sort those out. Thank you for adding those links in there as well, Adam. What have we got next, please?
Up next, we have a very good update to Google Classroom. We love to see the Google Classroom updates. So expanding the grading systems in Google Classroom. So currently, teachers can set up grading systems in Google Classroom using points, grade categories, or grading periods. These options are numerical based, meaning they correlate to points or percentages. In order to support other forms of grading, such as letter grades or proficiency rating, Google is introducing customizable grading scales so that a school or teacher's grading preferences are better reflected within Google Classroom. With this update, teachers will have the option to select from numerical, letter grade, proficiency, 4-point grading scales, or set up their own scale. Once the grading scale is selected and personalised, teachers can create assignments right away, and any existing assignments will automatically have their newly selected grading scale. When grading assignments, teachers can enter either the grade with the point value or the level from the grading scale, and Classroom will automatically display both to teachers and to students once the grade is returned. This feature gives teachers more flexibility in deciding which grading scales to use for assignments and classwork.
Yeah, this is great. This is really, really useful. I've always thought with Google Classroom, it's a little bit strange that the grades were very, very fixed to just sort of those numerical grades and you couldn't really change it. So I've been looking forward to this sort of thing coming along for years now for teachers to be able to put their own grading systems in. And this is really, really, really useful. I think a lot of teachers will find this very, very useful. And especially, we don't have it so much in the UK, I don't think, but maybe in America where you've got, or even other parts of the world, where you've got very strict requirements from, say, borough level or the equivalent of, I don't know what they call in America, district, I think, from sort of district level of you've got to grade using these grade criterias or using this system. It will be very good for meeting those compliance requirements there.
Yeah, I'm not actually too sure if there is a if grading has been standardised, maybe country by country or at all. So I know. So I moved around primary schools a little bit when I was younger, and I did see one school was using this system, another school was using that system. So we always had to say like 1A, I think, was always the highest mark, because I think 1 was the how well I actually did if I got all the answers right, but then the A, I think, was effort. So then it was a combination between getting the answers right and how much effort that you put in. But I know it can vary from school to school, so I think this is really good that this update is available. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very, very useful for teachers. What's the getting started on this, please, Adam?
Okay, so there's no admin control for this feature, but for the end users, which will be the teachers out there using Google Classroom, to configure grading scales, including accessing grading scale templates, go to Class Settings, scroll down to the Grading Scale Settings, click Add. From there, you can either choose a preset grading scale or create your own. Teachers also have the option to copy other classes once they have grading scales set up. Any new classes created will have the grading scale from the last edited class. And of course, you can always visit Google's Help Center if you would like to learn more about grading and returning assignments.
Very nice to see that Google have thought about sharing that between different classes. That's really, really nice. What's the rollout pace and availability here, please, Adam?
Okay, rapid release and scheduled release. There's a gradual rollout, so potentially up to 15 days for feature visibility, which started on August the 28th. And this is going to be available to Education Plus and the Teaching and Learning Upgrade customers.
Okay, so another upgrade that we're seeing, or another update that we're seeing, that's only available to slightly higher tiers on education. So for anybody like us listening who have education clients, again, this is another thing that you can say to your clients. Maybe they might want to consider going up to these higher levels to take advantage of these features. Lovely, thank you very much, Adam. What have we got next, please?
Up next, we have an admin update. So you can now track the carbon footprint associated with the usage of Google Workspace across your organization. So if you're a Google Workspace admin, you can now track the carbon footprint and gross emissions of using Google Workspace. This means you can track the emissions impact of tools such as Google Meet, Gmail, Google Docs, and more. Google has heard from their customers that it would be helpful to understand their organization's carbon emissions from Google Workspace product usage. For many of their customers, sustainability has become an increasingly important factor for IT-related decision-making and resource allocation. Google is making this information easily accessible to customers in the admin console. Using the carbon footprint reporting tool, you can view aggregated emission data from your organization over time, broken down by service. You'll also be able to sort this information month over month as well. You can also break down emission data by service, such as Gmail or Google Drive. At Google, they continue to make product and operational improvements to reduce environmental impact. The goal is to run on carbon-free energy 24/7 at all of their data centers and cloud regions by 2030. Plus, they're sharing technology, methods, and funding to enable organizations around the world to transition to more carbon-free and sustainable systems. I've also added a link in our document if anybody would like some more information about Google's sustainability commitments. Google uses the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, which is the global standard for carbon accounting, to generate the carbon footprint reports. They recommend that admins familiarise themselves with the Greenhouse Gas Protocol terminology. You can also find out more information within their help centre, and I've also added a lovely YouTube video within our document if anybody would like to have a look at that as well.
What a fantastic update. Really, really cool. I mean, this is going to really help those companies who have sustainability targets to meet, or sustainability sort of reports and sustainability responsibilities, to be able to get that data and produce that information. I mean, it's just amazing to me that Google's able to track this so accurately and kind of collate all of this data together and present it for their customers. But yeah, really, really useful for those companies that have those requirements.
Yeah, I think this is going to be, it's really interesting. It's very topical, it's very on-brand update that I think is going to be very, very popular with everyone, really, because why not? It's yeah, I think it's going to be really, really good to see. I think it'll be really interesting to actually see the different reports. Maybe we could actually show our schools as well to say, look, this is what your footprint is. Now go and plant some trees, or maybe you don't need to plant as many trees because look how efficient you're actually being by using Google instead. So I think either way, it's going to be really interesting to see how the reports look.
Yeah, that's right. And I think being able, like typical with Google, from the moving graphic that they've got here, the reports are presented in such an easy to understand way, in such a digestible way. So that also makes it really, really useful. And the other thing is obviously they can track it over time as well and see how much they're, either increasing or decreasing their carbon footprint. So I think this is going to be very useful for people. Thank you for adding the links and the video as well, Adam, and nice that it's gone in as a smart chip this time as well from
Yes.
after last time. What's the getting started rollout pace and availability here, please?
Okay, so getting started for the admins, you can find your carbon footprint report within the admin console under reporting and then carbon footprint. You can also visit Google's Help Center if you would like to learn more about Workspace carbon footprint. Rollout, so a rapid release and scheduled release. This feature is available right now, which is great. And this is also going to be available to all domain verified Google Workspace customers.
I think that's going to include pretty much everybody, so that's wonderful. Thank you very much, Adam. What have we got next, please?
Up next, we have a Google Chat update. So, interoperability between Google Chat and other messaging platforms powered by Mio. I think this is pronounced Mio, M-I-O. So if your organization uses a mixture of messaging tools, you can now use Mio to enable messaging interoperability between Google Chat and other platforms such as Slack or Teams. This is available now in beta, with general availability expected in early 2024. Google knows that communication and collaboration happens over multiple channels and tools. This can cause misread messages, silos of communication, and a frustrating experience monitoring multiple chat tools. That's why they've partnered with Mio, which is a leading provider of collaborative interoperability solutions, helping customers enhance their productivity by streamlining communication across multiple channels. You can leverage Mio to create a seamless experience between chat and the various tools you need to get your work done.
This is lovely. This is really, really cool. I didn't even know this existed, but this makes perfect sense. Again, another one of those updates for those big organisations where they've got kind of different tools going on and different messaging tools and basically just syncing them all up. I mean, to me, this is like IMAP on email. You know, it's syncing all of your email clients together. It's a similar thing of sort of syncing all of your chat clients together. So I think this is fantastic. And if you're in a situation where you are using multiple tools like this as a business, I think this would be a really, really good investment to keep all of those different things in sync, and like Google says here, not missing a message on one particular platform or anything like that. So yeah, really, really useful. What's the getting started here, please, Adam?
Okay, so for the admins to request beta access or to discuss pricing for your organization, you'll need to reach out to your account rep, or there is a form that I've added a link to, so then you can contact Mio in order to get started with that.
Brilliant. Okay, that's very interesting to hear. People can always contact us as well, of course. info@strawberry7.com if you need any help with this. And what's the availability here, please, Adam?
Just a note on the availability. So in order to leverage Mio's interoperability capabilities, a Mio license is required. So if you're using Slack, then obviously you would need to have your Slack all set up as well. But if you want it to be interoperable, is that a word? It is now. Then you will also require a Mio license in order to do that. So the beta availability, to request beta access, reach out to your account rep, or as I say, I've added a link to a form that you could use to contact Mio. That basically will take you to Mio's websites that you can use. But the general availability, this is going to be available to Google Workspace Business Starter, Business Standard, Business Plus, Essential Starter, Enterprise Essentials, Enterprise Essentials Plus, Enterprise Standard, Enterprise Plus, Frontline Starter, Frontline Standard, and non-profit customers.
Okay, so good availability across a lot of different levels there, so that's good to hear. Yeah, very, very nice little update that. What have we got next, please, Adam?
Up next, Google Workspace Marketplace. So, Independent Security Verification Badge is now in the Google Workspace Marketplace. So you'll see a new independent security verification badge for select apps in the Google Workspace Marketplace. This badge indicates that the app was validated by an independent security assessor to meet the integration and security requirements, as outlined in Tier 3 of the Cloud Application Security Assessment. I've added a link to that as well if anybody would like a bit more information on that. In the marketplace, you can already see app information, like information about app access to user data, who the developer is and their privacy policies, and more. Surfacing this additional app security information helps admins make an even more informed decision before installing or allow listing apps for their users. Note that passing an independent security assessment is an annual requirement for apps in the recommended for workspace category and optional for all other marketplace apps.
Okay, I mean, this is really good. Like we saw in the last podcast that we did, there were a lot of sort of security updates, and this is another example of a really, really nice security advancement where you're showing that you've independently had that security verification. So again, really, really handy for both companies that want to meet that Tier 3 Cloud Application Security Assessment as part of themselves, i.e. the company that's developing the app, but also really useful for companies that have a requirement where they can only have apps that have met that criteria, or they only work with developers who have met that criteria. So either way, really, really useful. And even if you don't have those requirements, so nice to be able to just see it on there as something that's been independently verified and met with that security layer. So the graphic here shows what it looks like. It's very nice and simple. It's sort of a green tick in a sort of green shield, and it just says independent security verification, and that's sort of on the app listing when you go and look at it in the marketplace. So yep, I think this is really, really good by Google, and great that they're adding support for that and support to get verified in that way.
Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't be too surprised if in the near future, within the admin console, that there is the option that you can, kind of as you say, that you can only install apps across your organisation if they have passed this security check. It also reminded me a bit when they did it for URLs. You now have your padlock when you go to a website, so you know that it is a secure website. So it's almost a little bit like that, but for marketplace apps.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I completely agree. And that's exactly what I was thinking of, actually, when I saw it. I thought, oh, it's like the, green sort of bar or whatever that you've had on Google when you go to a secure site. So, yeah, absolutely. What's the getting started rollout pace and availability here, please?
Okay, so for the admins to get started, visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about installing Google Workspace Marketplace apps and distributing a marketplace app to users. I've added links to both of those within our document. For the developers, you can use Google's developer documentation to learn more about how to get your app featured in the Google Workspace Marketplace. And again, I've added a link within our document for that. Rollout, so rapid release and scheduled release. This is available right now, which is great. And the availability, this is going to be available to all Google Workspace customers, as well as users with a personal Google account.
Oh, that's very nice to hear. So right across the board there, which makes a lot of sense. And what's the next update that we've got, please, Adam?
Okay, so up next, we have a mammoth update. This is a really, really big update that actually relates to the following 7 updates that we have afterwards, but it's quite cool. So this is a new update about something called Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise add-on is now generally available. So from the beginning, Google Workspace was built to allow you to collaborate in real time with other people. And with the launch of Duet AI, Google is making it possible to collaborate just as easily with AI. Duet AI is a powerful collaborator that can act as a coach, thought partner, source of inspiration, and productivity booster, all while ensuring every user and organization has control over their data. You can preview the power of Duet AI with a no-cost trial, and I've added a link for that within our document. Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise enables organizations to create, connect, and collaborate like never before. You can use Duet AI to help you write and refine emails within Gmail, even on the go or from your mobile device, help you write, define, and proofread content in Google Docs, generate original images for your presentations directly within Google Slides, create plans for projects in Google Sheets with just a simple prompt, look your best in Google Meet with Studio Look, generate background images within Google Meet, and use translated captions within Google Meet. And we're going to have more on all of those following. In the coming months, Google will be introducing more features for Duet AI, such as studio lighting and sound for Meet, enhanced smart fill for Google Sheets, and more. And Google will share more details of those features as they become available.
Well, this is very, very interesting. I mean, I completely understand why this has come along and what they're sort of getting at here with this AI companion, effectively, that you're going to be able to have. And, we have started to see these types of things in nothing like this, but these types of things in Google. The example I always like to cite is when you would have in Google Sheets, for example, a column of names, and then you would want to separate them into first name and last name, but they're all together in one cell. It's actually really difficult to do, and you would have to put in quite a complicated formula to do that. Whereas if you start typing it, Google Sheets kind of just steps in and says, do you want me to just separate all of these for you? After you've done sort of one or two, it goes, do you want me to just do this for all of them? And you can just go, yes. I think they call it suggested fill or something like that. That is along those sorts of lines of the computer stepping in and saying, do you want me to help you do this? Do you want me to help you write this or do that in a less annoying way than Paperclip did, or Clippy or whatever it's called in Office. I think this is very interesting, and some of the things that you've read out here, I know you're going to go into them in more detail, but the first few that you were talking about there about proofreading documents, refining emails in Gmail, I thought to myself straight away, is this like a supercharged Grammarly just for that one aspect? And like we've talked about in some of the previous podcasts, this is another example of something that you can potentially use in Google Workspace to replace those other tools that you're already paying for, such as Grammarly. Are you going to be able to get rid of Grammarly and instead use Duet AI? And not only will you then have the Grammarly features, but they'll be like on steroids, and you'll have all of the other stuff that Duet AI is, I'm sure, going to bring to the table that Grammarly doesn't. So it's another example of where you can possibly make some cost savings or just swap out for a more effective tool. It sounds very, very cool. Very exciting.
It's very exciting to see the potential and to see how well it actually works. So it's great that Google is announcing all of these features as that have become available, and as we are about to go into those in a bit more detail. But that's just talking about the announcement of the update coming out. To actually see them in practice, I think will be quite exciting, potentially thought-provoking as well, and it will definitely be really interesting to see the limitations or to see how well it is, because if it is really good, then companies, organisations will potentially completely rethink lots of the things or lots of the way that they run their own businesses or their organisations. So yeah, I've always been on a little bit of two minds with AI. I think I'm just a little bit hesitant because I definitely wouldn't say go and fire half your staff immediately, because we can now just use an AI to do that. And I always think, well, an AI, it's all just programming. Okay, yes, it is learning essentially, but it's all based on something. So then, for example, if it is grammar, somebody told it what the correct grammar was to use, and maybe the grammar that the AI wants to use is not actually the same grammar that you want to use. So I'd never take it for granted. I would always use it as kind of, as Google mentioned, almost like a bit of a coach or a companion to try and help you along the way, or a partner to help you along the way with everything that you're doing. But I would definitely not just tell the AI to go off and do everything and you don't even proofread it yourself or anything like that.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there, Adam. Yeah, you've always got to check it. I wouldn't trust a computer to do anything 100%. So, what's the sort of getting started here in availability, please?
Okay, so for admins to get started with this, I've added a link if you'd like to learn more about Duet AI and also how you can get started today with a no-cost trial. This is going to be available too. So the Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise add-on is available for purchase for some select Google Workspace editions, and that is going to be Business Standard and Business Plus, Enterprise Essentials Plus, Enterprise Standard and Enterprise Plus, Education Fundamentals, Education Standard, Education Plus, Education Fundamentals, Frontline Starter and Frontline Standard. But a note on all of this, Duet AI features are only available to users that are over the age of 18, which I think is a very sensible idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a very sensible precaution. I mean, I think Google has been a little bit, it's a sort of minor thing, but I think they've been a little bit confusing with the way that they've worded this, because they've said Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise add-on. That to me very clearly says it's for Google Workspace Enterprise, but it's kind of not, because it's also available for Business Standard and Business Plus and various things like that. So I think they've just been a little bit confusing with their wording there, but hopefully that's cleared it up, saying what editions it's available for as purchase as well. So I thought when you started saying that it was going to be available for purchase on like Business Standard and Business Plus, and then it was going to be bundled with Enterprise or Enterprise Plus, but it seems to just be available for purchase on every tier that has been mentioned in that availability there. So
yeah, that's definitely the way that I see it. Yes, this is an add-on. Even if you're already on Enterprise, well, on any of the tiers of Enterprise, this is a paid-for add-on that you can have.
I'm just not too sure why they called it Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise. I don't know why they didn't just call it Duet AI
it's an enterprise level bolt-on.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, a bit of a weird sort of terminology. But anyway, apart from that, all good. So I think these like you say, subsequent updates are going to talk a bit about Duet AI, but kind of within each area. So what are we starting off with here? What's the next update?
Okay, so first up, Google Sheets. So turn ideas into action using Google Sheets. So through Duet AI for Google Workspace, you can now use Google Sheets to quickly get started organising your data in a straightforward, highly visual manner. By simply describing what you want to accomplish using Help Me Organise, Sheets will generate a plan, tracker, budget, schedule, and more in the form of a template with sample text and smart chips that are easily editable. Once inserted into the grid, you can make the templates your own by assigning owners, updating statuses, and bringing in relevant information such as location or time. Whether you're a travel agent planning a trip for a company retreat or a team lead establishing onboarding plans for new hires, Help Me Organise gives you a running start in creating highly organised plans, trackers, timelines, and more. Through the power of Duet AI for Google Workspace, you can now get started organising information faster than ever before in Google Sheets. Help Me Organise makes templates tables with sample text, and it does not have access to the data within your spreadsheet or elsewhere. So rest assured that your data is still your own.
Great. Okay, that's good to hear. And the moving graphic that's here is really useful to see as well, because the example that they've given here is they said plan a solo trip to Iceland for 7 full days. That includes hiking. So, and it's kind of populated that with like locations and activities, and it's put those smart chips in, it's color coded everything. So very, very interesting, and very sort of interesting as to what that could potentially do, not just for work stuff, but eventually for personal stuff as well. I mean, maybe it can plan your whole holiday. That would be fantastic. I hate doing that, so that would be great. What's the getting started and rollout pace and availability here, please, Adam?
Okay, so to get started with this for the admin, so this feature will be on by default, and there is no admin control for this feature. But you can visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise. There's a link in our document for that. There's going to be lots of links in our document for that particular one. For the end users to get started, to use the Help Me Organise feature, write a description of what you need in the sidebar, then click on Create, and then view the generated preview table. Note you must write a minimum of 2 characters in the sidebar, and the maximum number of characters is 150. The Help Me Organise sidebar is surfaced for an empty tab, new or existing Sheets files. You can reopen Help Me Organise from the Insert menu or the toolbar via a new icon. You can also re-trigger the sidebar when adding a new tab. And of course, you can visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about organising with Duet AI in Google Sheets, and I've added a link within our document for that. I will mention the rollout pace and availability, but I'm pretty sure this is the same for all this one and the next 6 updates as well. So this feature is available now for customers with the Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise add-on, and this feature is available as part of the Google AI for Google Workspace Enterprise add-on, and there's a link in our document for that as well.
That's great. Thank you, Adam. Okay, we'll assume that that's going to be the same for all of these, which makes a lot of sense. Interesting that it's available now. I mean, it's like Google haven't just sort of announced this Duet AI and said, oh, there's some stuff coming. I know there's going to be some more stuff coming, but they've actually, launched a lot of this straight away. So
they must have been working on this for quite some time, because it's a full suite that is available. It's not, they're not drip feeding it at all. It's literally, it is a full package that is available immediately. It's not available in the next 6 months. It's available right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Adam. What's the next one, please?
Up next, Google Meet. So you can now use Studio Look in Google Meet to help you look your best. Google Meet already offers a variety of tools to help you appear your best during meetings, including automatic framing and lighting adjustments. Google is taking these enhancements a step further by introducing Studio Look in Google Meet, powered by Duet AI. Studio Look enhances the quality of your portrait by reducing noise and increasing sharpness, bringing you to focus more clearly. In the hybrid work world, our video feeds can be hindered by low light or lower quality webcams. Studio Look helps ensure you're coming across crisp and in focus, helping strengthen human connections in a hybrid work world.
How lovely. Well, I think that's, again, really, really useful. I've been in those situations myself. In fact, I've been in that situation for months because, I've been completely rebuilding my house. So, yes, shock horror. Any listeners who have been watching us on YouTube, I don't actually have this lovely house. It's all a facade, unfortunately. I wish my house did look like my background presents, but I understand this. Normally, when I'm sort of everything's in place, I've got correct lighting and everything like that and a proper background, but you can't always have that, and the real world is that you can't always set yourself up in a perfect lighting rig. So having these systems, it's just like when Google introduced that noise cancelling software, which has just been a godsend because it's so useful to be able to have the ability to be able to do a meeting in a bit of a noisy environment and just have that cut out a little bit. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's better than having nothing, that's for sure. So I really like this feature, and they've got a little moving graphic here showing it. I mean, all you do is turn on Studio Look, that's it. So it's pretty straightforward.
So at first, I thought this was going to be that basically you don't need to put your makeup on in the morning because Duet AI will just do it all for you and potentially make you all look a bit artificial, really. But I don't think this is the case. It's more of just tweaking the quality of your image, basically, as it's mentioned, like just crisping up the image if it's out of focus or anything. So I kind of wonder how much of an impact this would have if you don't necessarily need it. If you already have quite a good webcam and you're on a steady internet connection, then maybe this won't actually make that much difference if your image is already crisp.
Yeah, I don't think Studio Look is the sort of thing that you're going to be using if you're in your situation, for example, where you're at home, you're in your office, you've got adequate lighting, everything's kind of set up as it needs to be. I think this is in a situation like it says where you've got low light and things like that, because even if you've got a really good webcam, if you've got really low light or you've got difficult lighting conditions, it can really distort the image and it can make it look like it's out of focus. It's not so much that it's out of focus, the camera just can't get enough light into its optics. So yes, a good webcam and things like that will help, but in low light you do struggle a little bit. So I think that's the situation that it's for, kind of like it says here, in the hybrid work world, i.e. when you're at home or when you're in a coffee shop or something like that, or when you're at the airport and you don't have brilliant lighting or you don't have your rig set up. Thank you, Adam. What's the getting started here? And we don't need to worry about the rollout pace and availability.
Okay, so to get started with this, for the admins, there is no admin control for this feature, but for the end users, this feature will be available by default. You can turn Studio Look on before a call or during a call from the three-dot menu settings, or you can visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about improving your video experience with Studio Look, and I've added a link within our document for that.
Great. Really, really straightforward to do that. Thank you, Adam. I think we've got another Google Meet update next, haven't we?
Yes. So, create custom, unique meeting backgrounds using generative AI. There are a variety of ways to change your background in Google Meet today, including immersive backgrounds, seasonal backgrounds, and more. You can now use the power of Duet AI to generate completely unique and bespoke meeting backgrounds. So, Adam, you don't need to finish decorating your house. Just tell Duet AI that you have already finished decorating your house, and it will just show you what it's going to look like.
Oh, wow. I've been a fool. I've spent all this money and all this time, and all I needed to do was go on Google Meet and say, make my house organic modern, and it would have just done it. Oh my gosh, I've absolutely squandered my time. Oh well, at least it's here now, so...
Yes, and in addition to protecting your privacy during video calls, you can generate a background that enhances the meeting itself. For example, you can create a background specific for your clients and the industry you work with, helping to deepen the connection through visual reinforcement. You can create backgrounds that set the tone for kicking off an important project, or one benefiting of celebrating a company or colleague milestone.
Okay, yeah, those are some cool examples. I think Google, personally, I just think Google are going a little bit bananas with these backgrounds. There's already, as they say themselves, about a bazillion to choose from. I literally pretty much just go to the first one on the list. I don't think much of it. I think, yeah, it looks nice, some books in the background. Makes me look clever. So I think they've got quite a lot already anyway, but... it's quite cool that you can create custom ones, that you can make ones that are relevant. I was kind of chuckling there because...
And probably one example of why it's handy that Duet AI is only available to over 18s, because before all the school children say, oh, make me look as if I'm in the Playboy mansion.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And that's one of the reasons I was kind of chuckling, actually, because it said you could create a background specific to the client and industry you work with. I kind of had images of, like, the lovely lady who's in the picture there, and she's talking to, like, I don't know, steel industry or something like that, and it suddenly puts, like, some massive, like, plant in the background and, like, a virtual hard hat on her head or something like that. Like, it'd just be a bit mad. But... yeah, I mean, that's a bit of an extreme example, and obviously I'm being a bit facetious. I think it would be quite useful. Celebrating company or colleague milestone is quite a cool idea. I quite like the idea of that. And I think one of the nice things with the AI creating these backgrounds is I see this, I don't see it so much now, but certainly when people started using these virtual backgrounds in Zoom, they'd make the absolutely classic error of picking a picture where the focal point of the picture was in the middle, and they put that as their virtual background. And of course, you're in the middle of the meeting, so you can't see the picture. You need things that are around the outside, which isn't really a natural picture that you take. You do naturally take a picture where the focal point is in the middle. So I think that does limit what people can use with their pictures, and having an AI create something is pretty cool. I tell you where this would be really useful, actually, really useful, is in an education setting during Literacy Week. They still call it that, don't they? No, Book Week, sorry. Where all of the teachers dress up as the book characters and things like that?
World Book Day.
World Book Day, that's it. So you imagine if you could have a Google Meet or something, maybe you're recording it or you're using it in Assembly or something like that, and you can actually do an AI generated background related to the book that you're talking about or the character that you've dressed up as. I think that would be a pretty cool example. What's the getting started for this, please, Adam?
Okay, so for the admins getting started, this feature is exclusive to Google Workspace customers with the Duet AI for Workspace Enterprise add-on, as are many of these features that we're currently discussing. To enable or disable immersive backgrounds and styles, go to the admin console, apps, Google Workspace, settings for Google Meet, and Meet video setting. You can also visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about how to control whether users can change their backgrounds within Google Meet, and there's a link within our document for that. For the end users, when enabled by your admin, visit Google's Help Center to learn more about creating background images with Duet AI in Google Meet, and there's a link within our document for that as well.
That's great. And there's a little graphic here showing a little sort of sneak preview of how this works. And it's kind of like the Sheets thing. You just sort of type in what you want and it will create something in the background. So pretty cool.
Something that I'm quite curious about, I would like to think it is, with all of these AI features, is if they're all unique. So the example within the graphic that we have here, someone's typed in an illustration of a magical forest, and they have a lovely magical forest themed background behind them. Whereas if the next person goes and types the exact same thing, would they get the exact same images, or would it be slightly different? Or what's probably more likely to happen is that the next person would phrase it slightly differently. They may just say, a forest that's magic, instead of a magical forest, which obviously is basically the same thing, but the AI may interpret it and create totally different images based on the slightly different text. And so I really like the uniqueness that is potentially available, because I'm sure it's quite common. As soon as something cool is available, such as a fun background, everybody likes to use it, but then everybody looks the same and then it's less cool. But if everybody is unique and everybody looks slightly different, then I think that would be much more effective.
Well, we'll have to sign up for the trial of Duet AI and both type in the same thing, Adam, and see if it comes up. Thank you, Adam. What's the next update that we've got, please?
Okay, up next, this one, again sticking with Duet AI, but it's a bit more broader for all of Workspace. So, expanding language availability for translated captions are now available with Duet AI. So, as part of the Duet AI for Workspace Enterprise add-on, Google is expanding the number of languages available for the translated captions feature. If you have a Duet AI for Google Workspace, you can now translate English and non-English speech to and from a variety of languages. So that includes Mandarin and traditional Chinese, Hindi, Thai, Italian, and Russian. This adds to the existing list of languages, which are French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, Japanese, Swedish, simplified Chinese, Vietnamese, Dutch, Turkish, and Indonesian. Additionally, you can translate non-English speech to and from a select languages as well, which are simplified Chinese, French, German, Spanish, and Portuguese.
Another very, very useful update with these translates, and again, super useful for companies that work internationally or have where they've got clients internationally or even employees internationally. So another really, really good example of how you can use this AI and using it for those translated captions. We've sort of seen this before with sort of Google Meet and things like that, of using these translated captions. So very, very nice that they're expanding languages there and they're putting more into that. What's the getting started here, please, Adam?
Okay, so for the admins out there, there's no admin controls for this features, but if you'd like some more information on the Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise add-on, then there's a link within our document for that. For the end users, these features are available by default, and again, you can visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about translated captions within Google Meet, link in our document. You can use live translated captions if you're using an eligible Google Workspace edition or the meeting is organized by a user with an eligible Google Workspace edition. So Adam, do you think that means you could literally have a Google Meet meeting with somebody else and you're both speaking different languages and the captions will automatically be translated to your own language basically in real time?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it's saying. And I think
that is very cool.
It's very, very cool. And I think this is like a good example of where AI is going to really, really be very, very handy and very, very useful. Because just as a very brief example, one of my friends speaks fluent Spanish. I went to Spain and I was using Google Translate. And I put into Google Translate, could I please have a glass of water? And I asked the waiter this, and the waiter looked at me like I was mental. And I couldn't understand what the problem was. And eventually he managed to understand what I wanted. And I sort of said to Will, I said, I don't understand what the problem was. I asked him, and he said, you're making a classic English mistake. He said, you're being too polite. He said, when you say, could I have a glass of water in Spanish, it's the equivalent of saying to the waiter, excuse me, Mr. Waiter, may I pose a hypothetical question to you? Could I drink water in this establishment? It's like you're talking about it hypothetically. You should just say, I want water. That's it. It's like European language is very, very straightforward.
The please is optional.
Yeah, it's like they don't put sort of all that preposition around it like we do in English of trying to be overly polite and saying, could I have this or may I have this? Because to them, that's like you're posing a hypothetical question. So that was where I went wrong using Google Translate. Now, it'd be interesting with AI if AI picked up on that and went, yeah, I know what you're trying to say, so I'm going to say it in a different way. I'm going to translate it in Spanish in a different way, because I know you're asking for a glass of water. You don't want to pose a hypothetical question of could I drink it?
Essentially, the difference between what you're saying and what you mean.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, so that you're
And because
saying it
if
correctly.
it is able to do that live, I'm curious how quickly it would do everything. Because if it was in a Google Meet situation where two people are speaking completely different languages and everything has to be translated for them, if you have to wait a minute per response. I know 1 minute to translate everything perfectly is not a huge amount of time, but in a real-time conversation, if you have to have a minute pause at the end of every single sentence, then that will definitely drag on quite a lot. Whereas if it is literally doing it at your speaking speed, then that would be amazing.
Yeah, I think it will be. I definitely think it will be. Otherwise, it would be kind of unusable. So yeah, I think it will be doing it at sort of real time.
However, but with that, you would have to listen to the end of your sentence before it can then work out what the translation for what you actually mean and what you say. Especially if it's somebody like me that just drivels on for half an hour.
Well, I didn't want to say anything, Adam, but you know. No, that's great. There's a little note here. Is that right, Adam?
Oh, yes. So translated captions in Google Meets will be available exclusively to Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise add-on users at a future date. So, and Google will provide a minimum of 6 months notice to existing Google Workspace customers before this change takes place.
Interesting. Okay, so they're going to shift that from, at the moment, it's just available in Google Meet. They're going to shift that to Duet AI. Very interesting change. But hopefully we'll see an enhancement to it as well. So it'll be worth it. Okay, what have we got next, please, Adam?
Enhance your writing in Google Docs with Proofread, available in Duet AI for Workspace. Google Docs offers several existing capabilities to help you write faster and with more confidence, such as grammar suggestions, Smart Compose, and Smart Reply. Google is introducing the next generation of writing suggestions powered by AI, which is Proofread. In addition to spelling and grammar, Proofread will provide a list of suggestions you can review and accept, including suggestions for making your writing more concise, active voice, suggestions for making your writing more clear to readers, wording, suggestions for making words sound more dynamic or formal in context, and sentence split, suggestions for splitting up complex sentences to make your writing easier to read. Proofread is the latest innovation that helps you more easily and quickly compose high-quality content in Google Docs. It can help improve conciseness and make your document clearer and easier to read. These suggestions are non-intrusive and won't clutter your document as you compose and collaborate. You can easily review all suggestions direct from the Proofread sidebar whenever you're ready and decide which suggestions are most appropriate for you to accept. Plus, you can customize the type of suggestions you'll see via a filter option, helping ensure Google is giving you the most relevant suggestions. If you're currently participating in alpha testing for Proofread, you'll need to purchase the Duet AI for Workspace Enterprise add-on to continue using the feature. If not, you will no longer be able to access the feature beginning on August 29th, and that date has been and gone already, and definitely been and gone by the time that this podcast comes out. So if you are alpha testing for Proofread, if you have not already purchased Duet AI for Workspace Enterprise, which is an add-on, then I'm afraid that feature is no longer available to you.
Okay, yeah, which I'm sure people have become aware of. Again, you know, it's like we said earlier about this being like Grammarly on steroids, so this is very interesting to see. I can imagine that this would be really useful for most people, myself included, to be able to write these things out, because I think most people are able to understand my emails and things pretty well, but I think conciseness definitely is something that I could potentially benefit from. We could both benefit from, Adam. So I think that's really, really good to have that feature, and that will be very, very useful for people to use across their organisations, for their employees as well. What's the getting started here, Adam? And there are some icons here, aren't they? So people will have to refer to the document.
Yes, that's right. So for the admins to get started, there are no admin controls for this feature, and this feature is exclusive to the Google Workspace customers with the Duet AI for Workspace Enterprise add-on. And there is, I've added another link if you'd like to get started with a trial for Duet AI, link in our document. For the end users, this feature will be on by default and can be turned off in Docs by going to Tools, then Proofread. You can always visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about using Proofread in Docs. You can open the Proofread sidebar by selecting a icon, and there's a graphic of that within the document. It looks like an A with a tick underneath it. There will also be a blue dot alongside the icon when there are writing suggestions for your document. On that, something I'm a little bit curious about is I wonder if Proofread will ever will ever end. So will it actually say, no, your grammar is perfect? Or will it continuously give you suggestions on how you can adapt and change almost until it doesn't make sense anymore? I wonder if it could over-proofread.
No, I don't think so. I think it will check it until it's done. That's why it's got the blue dot, I think, because it's suggesting, and then the blue dot is gone when there's no suggestions. Thank you, Adam. That's great. What's the next update, please?
Okay, next up, Google Docs and Gmail. So write emails, documents, and more with ease and speed using Duet AI in Google Docs and Gmail. Google is introducing AI-powered writing features that help you quickly refine existing work or get you started with something new in Google Docs and Gmail using Duet AI for Google Workspace. On web and mobile, you can draft and reply to messages in Gmail. Upon selecting the Help Me Write button, you can choose between several options. You've got write your draft, formalize your draft, elaborate on your draft, shorten your draft, or even that I'm feeling lucky will introduce a fun variation on tone and style for content that you've drafted. So be interested to see what that comes out with. Whether you're setting up a meeting with a prospective client or reworking an intro email for a new team member, Help Me Write in Gmail saves you time by eliminating the tedious task of writing emails and provides the tone and style for any message occasion. Using Help Me Write in Docs, simply type a few words describing a topic you'd like to write about, and a draft will instantly be generated for you. You can see suggestions as needed and refine the generated content further with some options such as tone, summarize, bulletize, elaborate, shorten, retry, or even custom. With the custom one, you can provide your own instruction on how you'd like to refine the generated content. Whether you're a recruiter drafting a customized job description or an account executive drafting a sales pitch, Help Me Write saves you time and effort writing your first version of a document by enabling you to focus on bringing your ideas to life instead of conquering a blank page. Google is also combining the power of Smart Canvas with Help Me Write by weaving smart chips, variables, and building blocks into generated context. This combination of help if you need to include information like status or add variables for details you'd want to customize, like your teammate's name, job title, and more, by providing you with structured data and shortcuts to take action when creating comprehensive plans or messages. This update will help you go from concept to completion much faster without ever leaving your document.
I think it's a cool concept. I think that it's possibly useful for certain people in certain situations. For me personally, I start to sort of think, I'm not too sure about this whole AI writing stuff for you. I don't think it's very authentic. For example, the example that I've given there is an introduction to a client. Okay, so let's say that you're getting an AI to write the introduction to your client. You're going to meet that client at some point, or you're going to go on a Google Meet with them or something like that. And if the AI has written all of your stuff, I know you can customize it and you can kind of tweak it, but it's not really coming from you. It's coming from the AI. And when they meet with you or they speak with you, they might be thinking that you're quite a different person. I mean, writing and presentation of
You
writing.
kind of get a feel of a personality or the style of a company or something through the way that they format and the language that they use and also the grammar that they use as well. I know I probably I shouldn't, but I judge various things that I read based on the grammar and the style of punctuation and the choice of language that they use as well. If it's entirely AI generated, then there will be none of your personality in there at all. And a lot of the time, well, I imagine, some of the time, especially if it's something like a job description or something like that, you'll go for the job because you click well with the environment that you're going with. If it seems very robotic, regardless of what the job is, maybe the job's really cool, but if it comes across that it's a super robotic organization, then you're probably going to be put off wanting to work there.
Yeah, I think you're right in the fact that you write with a bit of your personality and a bit of your own flair. And you're right, that doesn't really come across necessarily with AI. I understand what Google is saying in the fact that you don't want to conquer a blank page, but I would be cautious with using this type of facility because it's very tempting, like you say, to just say, write me a job description. And you just have a quick glance over it and you go, great, the facts are in there, post it. But it's not.
This update is very much the Chat GPT within Google Workspace, and so I think this will probably be most beneficial. Not to write a full document for you, but maybe if you just want to rephrase a sentence or maybe a paragraph, take a small snippet and say, "Oh, this bit that I'm working on, maybe you have a little bit of writer's block, and whatever you're writing doesn't seem too enthusiastic, or it's not inspiring enough for whatever it is you're wanting to write." So you could use a tool like this just to write one sentence or just a couple of sentences to kind of get you going. And maybe you wouldn't even copy what the AI has generated, but maybe what it has generated will inspire you to then write your own content.
Yeah, I think that's probably their intention. What's getting started on this, please, Adam?
Okay, so for the admins, this feature will be on by default, and there's no admin control for the feature. You can also visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise, link in the document. For the end users, this feature will be on by default and cannot be disabled by the user. And again, you can visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about writing with Duet AI in Google Workspace.
Great, thank you, Adam. What's the last update that we've got here?
Last update we have is to do with Google Slides. So create original images from text within Google Slides. In addition to the recently introduced feature that helps users create with pre-designed branded templates in Google Slides, Google is giving you the ability to generate compelling visuals for presentations through the power of Duet AI for Google Workspace. By simply typing a few words in Help Me Visualize, you can easily create original images for your presentations. Whether you're a creative agency developing early campaign concepts for a client or a consulting firm enhancing your annual planning proposal, this feature empowers everyone, regardless of their artistic skill, to create unique AI-generated images that help communicate ideas more impactfully with less effort. This feature exemplifies a dynamic new way of working that embeds the power of generative AI in slides by enabling you to bring your creative vision to life with custom auto-generated images.
Wow, this is really, really amazing. I mean, this is a really, really handy feature and something where you're, again, possibly going to be able to eliminate a subscription service or maybe eliminate subscription service for part of your company in the fact that you might no longer need like stock images or Adobe. There's an Adobe system, I can't remember what it's called right now, but there's an Adobe system for sort of stock images. I think it's called Elements or something like that. If you've got a subscription to that already and you're using that to pull your images in for presentations or various things like that, then you possibly don't need that anymore because the AI will be able to generate things for you. And not just things that are stock image related sort of criteria. This is something that you can just type in and have like virtually anything. So very, very interesting advancement here, would potentially be very, very useful as this starts to evolve.
Yes, I find it a bit curious that they mention artistic skill, because literally zero artistic skill is required at all. All you need to do is have the ability to describe what you would like an image of. There's supposed to be a moving graphic within our document for this, but I was struggling with that slightly. But so let me describe it for you. Imagine your lovely Google Slides, but on the right hand side you have a panel which is called the Help Me Visualize. The Help Me seems to be a feature that they're using for this. So then it was Help Me Write, and this one is now Help Me Visualize. And someone's typed in a small garden with a glass bowl with flowers, grass, mushrooms, and pastel colours as their Help Me Visualize, and then the AI has generated a handful of pictures that all fit that description. So then you can then just select the picture that you like and include that into your slide.
The other interesting thing as well is there's like a category here where you can say that it's a like a photography type category, and it will sort of generate it obviously based on that as well. So there's different sort of categories that you can choose from there as well. I can't really read them because they pop up a bit too quickly, but I imagine one of them is maybe animated or something like that. So you could have a style, sorry, not a category, but a style of how you want it to look. So yeah, very, very interesting. What's the getting started here, please, Adam?
Okay, so for the admins, this feature will be on by default, and there's no admin control for this feature. And again, visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise. For the end users, if you'd like to add an image, go within Google Slides, go to Insert, Image, and then Help Me Visualize, or tap the Help Me Visualize icon in the toolbar. Go to the sidebar, type in an image description, and then click on Create. You will see generated options. Select the one that you like, and it will be added to your slide. And as you mentioned, Adam, you can also select a style for your image as well.
Yeah, very, very cool. Really, really cool update that. And all of this Duet AI seems amazing. I'm sure we're going to hear way, way, way more about this in media, and certainly on the podcast as well, with the updates that Google are going to be putting through for this. So yeah, very, very interesting. I have to look into the cost level of Duet AI as well to see how much Google are charging.
There is a free trial available for everybody. I'm not actually sure how long the trial is. I imagine.
I was just going to ask that. Yeah, it didn't actually say, did it? But I imagine it's like 30 days or something. They usually are, aren't they?
I was going to say something like that. I doubt it's. I was going to say it's probably a week or 2 weeks, but no, I imagine it's probably a month or so. But don't quote me on that just yet. So that a free trial is available for anybody within this select Google Workspace tiers that we mentioned that are eligible for this. So if you want to have a bit of a play with this, then go nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Adam. Well, that's brilliant. And that's it, everybody. That's everything that you need to know about all of the latest updates happening in the world of Google Workspace. Remember that this podcast is available in audio format from your regular podcast provider, and also in video format on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/strawberry7. Thank you very much for joining us this week.
And we'll be back again next week with more updates.
Goodbye.
Bye.